Check, 1, 2, check. Get you to start.
Okay, just let me know when.
Okay, go ahead, Karen.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Members of the public are advised that individuals and the media may be audibly and/or visually recording this meeting. I would like to call this meeting of the Heritage Permit Review Subcommittee, March 24th, 2026, to order. Please note that quorum is present. Committee, you have before you the agenda for this meeting. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? I see Sandra and I see Andy. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. Are there any declarations of interest today? See no declarations of interest. Yep. Okay, approval of meetings of previous meeting minutes from Heritage Permit Review Committee meeting 26002, which is February 17th, 2026. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Actually, before we do that, I did notice one typo. Was that? And that was in the spelling of Matthew's name. As an attendee, his last name was spelled incorrectly, and probably just want to tidy that up. And other than that, is there, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented otherwise? See Matthew and Graham. Okay, thank you. And Graham, and is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. On to the heritage permit applications for this evening. So they're found under section 6 of your agenda. And the first application for this evening is HP 2026-004, which pertains to 27 Sydenham Street in Dundas, which is the William B. Martland residence. It's a Part 4 property. And the application is for repairs to the front facade, including replacement of one wood windowsill, installation of 4 new wood storm windows, and installation of 4 new 1-foot deep steel window wells with crushed gravel. Is the applicant or representative of the applicant here to speak to the application?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, welcome, Shelley. And so normally what we do is we give the applicant a few moments to speak if there's anything further they want to add to the story before we discuss it as a committee. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think there may just wanted to clarify. So we have 4 sash windows on the basement level. One of them currently has a storm window over it, but we wanted to put 3 storm windows to cover the 3 that currently don't. And all 4 of them do currently have window wells. We're not redoing the window wells, but we had some water actually come through one of the windows a little while ago, which caused some damage. And so we're hoping to dig a foot deep down into the existing window wells and just add some stone just to increase the absorption.
Okay. Okay, so they're not actually new window wells, they already exist, right? Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Graham, please go ahead.
I'm unsure at the age of your house whether you have weeping tiles down around your footings or not. But if you do, wouldn't you be a little better for water wise to put a pipe down so the water drains down to that area? Like in a modern construction, they would have a little drain in the bottom, take it down to the weepers.
Oh, okay. I'm actually not sure. But they're currently, we have our window and our windowsill, and there's only kind of a few inches between that and
So real problematic with snow and water. Yes.
yeah. Yeah,
It's a,
so
I looked at those and I go, yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to do something. We got to understand that. But it's mean they give you a little better protection if you use like a PVC pipe, 6 inch roughly. They put a sock over the top of it, take it down to the area of the weeping tile. You don't have to go a big hole, just a little bit, and then you backfill it with the gravel like you want to do, and it allows the water to get out of there better.
yeah, I suppose that that could be an option. I guess we were advised that a potentially easier option or could be simply just to dig down in the dirt, which probably has built up over time, and then also add the gravel so that it will absorb.
Yeah. It's just going to store it for a short time to give it a chance to go out, but it's going to fill up pretty quickly with it still. It's
Yeah.
not a great, it's a better situation than you're in now, but it's not a great solution.
Okay.
And with the height of your grade, you don't have far to dig down to get down to those, I bet.
Yeah, I haven't tried yet, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's a hole you're going to be in, so you're going to be digging anyway. So just try to go
Yeah.
an extra couple of feet and see if you do come across your clay weepers. And if you do, you just got to put a little tiny bit of pipe in there, PVC, sock over the top, then it'll give you a lot better drainage in the long haul.
Okay.
But I support your idea because you got to do something down in there. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any more questions from the committee? Andy, please go ahead.
Yeah, just through the chair, some clarity really. It looks like there's quite a bit of stone around. Is that a patio or is that just sort of a makeshift? Is that sort of the window well per se that is trying to, or is that part of a patio that goes farther out? I'm just,
There's a landing on the front and then stairs that go down, and then the windows that we're trying to address are kind of at the street level. So sorry, I'm not sure what you mean in terms of the patio.
okay, I'm just seeing a bunch of stone. So I guess the stone is what the makeshift window well is. Is that just basically?
Oh, yes. So the window wells currently, there's a few stacked stones, like flat, large stones. We didn't that was there when we bought the home.
Okay.
So yeah.
So through the chair, is your idea just to remove all those and then put in a like an aluminum type of window well around it, but after you do the digging?
No, we weren't planning on replacing or removing those. We were going to leave those intact and literally just dig a foot down into the dirt,
Okay.
if we can, and add some crushed stone.
Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the committee? I had a question. I just from what you said, Michelle, it says the application seems to say deep steel window wells. So are you adding like a liner of steel around the?
No, so what we did indicate that they're on the side of the house. We are hoping to add in a couple of window wells because currently we have windows which are inches from the ground. And so we were hoping to dig window wells there, though we were told that this permit would be about the front only. But if we want to talk about the side, we can talk about the side.
Oh, okay, so maybe that was a leftover from that discussion then, the steel part of it. Okay. Okay. Any other? Oh, Alyssa, did you have a question?
Yeah, through the chair, Alyssa Golden, Cultural Heritage Program Lead, just noting that, yes, the larger application submitted did include the side facades, which aren't a part of the designation bylaw for this property. So our apologies for the confusion there of that description. When we do process this permit after the subcommittee's advice, we'll clarify that in the final permit conditions.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay, Lisa, could you please put up the proposed conditions, please? And so these are the two standard conditions, nothing surprising here, and just with a 2-year expiry date. So may I have a mover and a seconder to recommend approval of Heritage Permit 2026-004, subject to these staff recommended conditions? And I see Andy and I see Graham. Okay, thank you. And is there anyone opposed? Okay, I see none. And Sandra, with your camera being off, I don't actually see you anymore. So I wouldn't know if your hand was up or not. Okay, great. Thank you. That makes it easier. Okay, so no one opposed. All right, and with that, that motion is carried. Thank you. All right, Michelle, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. And it's a lovely little house. So yeah,
Great.
thank you for joining us, and staff will follow up with you then on next steps.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, our next application is 6.2, HP 2026-005. So it's for 220 St. Clair Boulevard in Hamilton, which is part of the St. Clair Boulevard Heritage Conservation District. So it's a Part 5 property. And the application is for repair and reconstruction of masonry columns on the front porch, including repointing of existing columns, reuse of existing materials, the bricks where possible, and removal and reinstallation of existing wood columns following masonry repairs. Is the applicant here or applicants here to speak to the application?
Yep, I'm Patrick. I'm here.
Okay, welcome, Patrick. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Okay, so is there anything you'd like to explain more about your project before we maybe have some questions for you and Alyssa?
I don't think so. My wife's downstairs if we do need her, but we've been through a couple of these applications, and this one is just unfortunately some brick damage on the column, and we're just trying to repair as is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of pictures, so it's easy to understand what you're asking for here. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, I see. We'll start with Matthew and then go to Graham, please. Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, hi, Patrick. Thanks for joining us. Quick question. I wonder if you could just make a distinction between the state of the columns. Are we looking primarily at one column or both columns?
Yeah, it is just the one column. It is the middle one. As you go up the stairs, it would be on the left side. But yeah, it's just the center column that has, I guess, 2 wood columns above it. And if you want, I could pop up the pictures again. I could probably point to with my mouse, but basically my wife and I, Elisa, were outside with my son in the winter playing, and there's basically a shear line. So maybe 3 or 4 bricks look like the mortar's cracked, and there's basically like a shear where the column almost looks intact, but it's shifted a little. And then from the one side, you can see some buckling of a few bricks. So we went and temporarily jacked up the porch above, to try to take the load off of it temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
Great. That was all the clarification I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Graham, please go ahead.
It's out of curiosity, that missing half brick or 2 half bricks, you still have it?
In that hole, it never was with the house. There's as you go up on the stairs, the right column, there's a similar idea. I don't know if there was a gate temporarily put in at some point, but there's bricks that have been that are loose but have been put in there, and then on the center column they were missing. We do have more yellow bricks. They were under a deck and they're out in the shed now. So
Oh, great.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
I
just
didn't
worried
know
that when
that.
you put new bricks in, it'd be visible from the street. Just wanted to make sure you didn't
No,
have.
and even we talked with Fix My Brick, but also more, we felt better with Murphy's Masonry, and they said they have a stockpile of yellow that will be very similar. So
Oh, excellent.
we're hoping to do our best. Yeah.
Yeah, and at one point he even said that they could move some brick that's less, or that's like more back facing to the front if we need to like patch anything. And
I was going to suggest that, but you seem to be pretty hip on that, so I wasn't all that worried.
yeah, they had a lot of solutions. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Matthew, your hand is still up. I wasn't sure if that was from the previous question. Okay. Yeah? Or do you have a new question? No new questions. Okay. Andy, please go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair. Just curious if you're going to do any kind of color matching on the mortar. Right
Ye-
now, it seems to have a kind of a pinkish tone or whatever. I'm wondering if you're going to try to color match it, or you're actually going to repoint the entire column.
Um, yeah, we will do our best to match. Yeah, they said they could dye it, and they've done that before. Yeah, there's a red pinkish tint or hue to it. Yeah, so they were quite confident that they've done this before and could match that pretty closely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And one last thing, I'm just curious on it looks like a vine that's in the front garden.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if that vine is going to remain there. A lot of times vines have little suckers and they actually attach themselves into the mortar. And
Yeah.
if you try taking them out, it's going to probably pull the mortar out with it. I'm just
Yeah.
curious if you're keeping that or if that'll be removed.
Yeah, so it's not in the mortar. There's like I'm gonna call it like a trellis that's sort of affixed to the brick, and the mason said that unfortunately we likely would have to dig it up so that they can have access to the space. I'm going to try to take it down and move it the best I can, but it is in fact not growing into the mortar at all. We've done a pretty decent job of keeping it tidy over the years, so it does actually sit off of the brick, but
We'll try to take off that metal bracket and
yeah.
and support it as best we can. I didn't want that dying. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That's all I have right now. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay. Are there any more questions from the committee? No, nothing. All right. I have nothing myself. May we see the proposed conditions, please? Staff, thank you. Okay, so what you can see is the two standard conditions, and then an additional one about that the proposed masonry restoration work conform to the city's masonry restoration guidelines, and the final details and specs be submitted. So that pretty much might address all the questions about what brick's going to be used and that sort of thing. So,
Okay.
and the color of grout, which is great. So, may I have a mover and a seconder? With these, thank you, Kira. Mover and a seconder to recommend approval of Heritage Permit 2026-005, subject to these staff recommended conditions. And I see Carol and I see Sandra. Thank you. And is there anyone opposed? Okay, I see none. So that motion is carried. Okay, so Patrick, Elisa, thank you for coming in. Appreciate
Thank you.
the continued care of these heritage homes you have. So, and staff will be speaking to you then on next steps. So,
Okay. Thanks,
Lovely.
everybody.
Thank you.
joining us. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, now for our third permit of the evening, HP 2026-007 for 3027 Homestead Drive, which is the former, well, it is the Mount Hope Library, actually, which is a Part 4 property. So it is designated. And the application is for renovation and restoration of the building, including masonry and stone foundation repairs, including repointing, cleaning and waterproofing, reintroduction of the front window and arch transom opening, installation of new triple glazed windows in the existing masonry openings, removal of existing canopy over the front entrance, and installation of new aluminum doors, installation of solar panels on the rear roof slope of the building, and reintegration of the original tongue and groove ceiling into the interior space with combination new period style pendant lights and surface mounted lighting. So, is the owner and or applicant here to speak to the application? We've got Emma, are you here to speak on behalf of this? And Megan.
Actually, Megan's going to.
Okay, great. Well, welcome to both of you. And Megan, is there anything you would like?
Excuse me, Karen.
Oh, yes.
I didn't realize Megan was going to be here, so I'm going to have to put a
Oh.
I forget the exact word now. Non-disqualifying conflict. Megan and I both serve on the local organization committee for the Future Heritage Committee, or the Ontario Heritage Conference coming up. I just wanted it on the record that
So non-disqualified, is that, staff, is that how you would, assess it?
Through the chair, yes, I believe is a non-disqualifying interest, similar to declarations at the Maine Heritage Committee, and staff can note that and give you that language, Karen, for the minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. And thank you, Graham, for
Okay.
bringing that to our attention.
Yeah,
Okay,
which you are all invited to.
exactly. Okay, all right, so, all right, Megan, is there anything you would like to add to, the introduction?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. I did send a presentation through to staff just a few minutes ago. I don't know.
Yeah, so,
And I'm happy to just kind of walk you through.
yeah, maybe, 5-10 minutes maximum. Would that be okay?
Yeah, I'll go through
Okay.
quickly for
Okay.
sure. So it's a Part 4 designated property, and these are the alterations, interior alterations, deep energy retrofits, accessibility upgrade, masonry cleaning and repairs. Part of the deep energy retrofits will be insulation, new windows, and so I'll go through that with you a little bit. Project team is listed there. So the next slide, please. So, yeah, there we go. So this is the condition above. So the building was built in 1904 as the first purpose-built council hall for Mount Hope, so for the township. So it's a significant building, but it has undergone quite a few kind of unsympathetic alterations over the years. So in 1959, they built a one-story addition at the back, which is attached directly to the back. Fits nicely, but it is in need of repairs. And the town hall itself has had some alterations that are less than ideal. So on the left, that little photo it shows you how they lowered the front entrance so it was at grade, and then put a canopy over the door, and then put a new aluminum door in. When they did that, they filled in the transom up above with brick. And the window on the left side of the door has been bricked in also because there's a safe inside behind that area. So they just filled it in. So part of the renovations will be to restore those features. And then I'm just showing a little detail of the windows. So the windows that are in there now are not original windows, they're replacement windows, and they're kind of a vinyl window with a kind of a three-part division with a sort of semicircular fixed panel at the top and then a sash below it. And then the basement window is kind of a 1/1. If you look at the historic photo, you can see that it was more of a rounded top, just a 1/1 sash. And in the basement, it had this nice sort of three vertical panes with the vertical mullions. So what we're hoping to do as part of this project is not only are we going to improve the library space by renovating inside and making the library area larger by extending it into part of the community center that's attached to the back. So the library space will be bigger, it'll all be refreshed, and some of the heritage elements in the interior will be restored as well. And so as part of that, we'll also make some improvements on the exterior. The other thing you'll notice about the unfortunate changes that have been done over the years is that the brick has been painted. So there's actually a paint coating on the brick, which we're suggesting that be removed as part of this enhancement. Next slide, please. So this is kind of what it looks like inside. On the top is the library space right now. You can see there's a sort of lowered ceiling with a fluorescent lighting. The idea is to remove all of that, and up above there is a original tongue and groove ceiling that will then be visible. So that's going to be a major sort of improvement. The wall on the right-hand side of that image will be the area where they'll be extending back into the community center. And the photo down below is the community center, which is this kind of 1950s hall space. So they're going to enlarge the library space into the first two bays of the hall. So the hall and the library will still be separate spaces, but the library space will be a little bit bigger. Next slide, please. So as part of the retrofits, so the heritage portion will be insulated on the interior side of the wall, but at the rear addition, the insulation can be added on the exterior side because it doesn't not a heritage attribute. The addition at the back is not included as a heritage within the designation. So the approach is to use this sort of graphic pattern on the rear addition with new cladding with insulation underneath it. So that'll be over top of the brick. And I'm just showing you the sort of connection point where that sort of takes off to the addition. So there'll be the modern cladding up to the historic masonry, and then the historic masonry will be cleaned and restored. Next slide, please. And one of the other ways in order to make it more sustainable is to have solar panels installed on the roof. And the way that they're doing that is to put most of them on the flat roof of the rear addition to get the energy savings that they're looking for. And then limiting the ones on the heritage roof to the back slope of the roof. So from the street, you won't see them, but there'll be some on the back slope just to get added performance from the solar panels. So this is a drawing of what it'll look like from the front. And this was, I think this, I had an option B, but I'm not sure that you've got the right version in here. So so this is the final, we'll just look at the rendering. So this is the final kind of look with the graphic pattern at the back and a kind of a palette that references the heritage building, the clean stone, the replaced windows. And then from the interior, you can see that tongue and groove ceiling now is visible. And then new pendant light fixtures that kind of fit in with the style of the building, 1904. And then this kind of expanded space that goes into the first part of the community center. Yeah, so that's where we are. And we're looking for any input that the committee has in terms of some of the heritage details.
Thank you, Megan. It's a great project. May I thank you for stopping sharing. Okay, so now I can see the committee. Do we have any questions from the committee to the applicants? Seriously, none.
A lot to see. No, I think they're just
No, I mean, they
taking
did
it
the
all in.
pre-reading, so they did, they had lots of time to think about it. Graham, please go
I was
ahead.
going to make a comment while you're so quiet. You've actually done a good job. I think the only kind of question you might have is on the windows, you're going to have dividers in it to kind of make it look like it's panes. Yeah. And that's about it. You're restoring everything back to original, except for the entry is not going to be as high as it was when the building was built. I can't say there's anything wrong with your ideas, Megan. I think it works really well.
Yeah, these are Emma's ideas. This is Envisage's
Well,
design.
perfect. Yeah.
And I think it's really gonna enhance the heritage building. It's a wonderful opportunity to restore heritage elements as part of the larger project.
Yeah, it looks stupid with just that one window bricked in. It really looks off balance, and just bringing that back is going to help. And getting the round windows back in the front is going to help. It just balances it all back out. I don't see anything wrong with the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Emma, please go ahead.
Through the chair. I just want to also highlight that this is the first project in Hamilton that is trying to convert to net zero as a way to meet the city's climate targets. And it's interesting that the first project would also be a more complex building that's a heritage building. So hopefully by being able to do that on this building, it'll be easier for future buildings that are part of the city's inventory. We're actually working on Ancaster Senior Center now too, to do the same thing, which is not a heritage building, but same idea of making it net zero carbon.
Nice.
Hopefully you see more of these.
Okay.
If they're all executed as successfully, I'm looking forward to more heritage buildings being brought back up to a modern standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, not modern standard, way above. Yeah, this is net zero carbon.
Future standard.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the committee? No, I don't see any. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any questions myself. I thought it looked wonderful when I was reading about it. So I think it's really exciting and it's going to be so much more beautiful. So it's lovely. Okay. Well, with that being said, then may we see the proposed conditions for this application? So the two standard conditions, which are the last and the second to last, and then the different ones are that the final specifications for the proposed replacement windows be submitted, and that the masonry restoration work conform to the masonry restoration guidelines. So, both make perfect sense here. Nothing too out of the ordinary. So, with that being said, do I have a mover and a seconder to recommend approval of Heritage Permit 2026-007, subject to these staff recommended conditions? And I see Andy and I see Graham. Okay, great. Graham, and is there anyone opposed? Okay, seeing none, that motion is carried. Lovely. Thank you for the input, everybody, and thank you for the presentation.
Thanks, everyone.
And yeah, so staff will follow up with you on next steps. Appreciate
Thanks.
coming and taking the time.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, good night. Okay, so that is the last application for this evening, and then we have a pre-consultation. So this is a big project, and so it's item 6.4, pre-consultation for 77 Gage Avenue North in Hamilton, the former King George School, which is a Part 4 property. And this consultation is for discussion of the adaptive reuse and continued conservation of the property. So I assume we have some people here to speak to this application or this pre-consultation?
Through the chair, you've got several.
Okay.
So my name's Jennifer Roth. I'm a senior business development consultant with the City of Hamilton. Working on this project alongside my colleague here, Manager of Indigenous Relations, Beth Dockstader, and we're joined online by several representatives from the Hamilton Regional Indian Center, as well as Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services, and then a consultant from Evoke, Dima. There she is. Thanks, Audrey, for being here. So I just wanted to set the stage really quickly and also ask the chair for a little flexibility on time because it is such a dense project and I'm sure you're all very interested in the details and the work underway. So this is a piece of land that the city owns. We acquired it a handful of years ago from the school board. The building has sat vacant for a number of years, and in 2021, Councillor Nan put forward a motion for the city to work with the Hamilton Regional Indian Center, as well as Ontario Aboriginal Housing, to explore the feasibility and viability of adaptively reusing this building for the relocation of the Friendship Center, as well as housing, to create a social service establishment, a hub concept. So we've been working with Evoke Architecture on looking at ensuring the programmatic needs of the communities can fit on site, as well as ensuring that the cultural needs of the community is reflected here. So I'm going to turn it over to Dima because she is the real expert and can talk about the proposed changes to the building. She's done a ton of work here. It's a very beautiful vision that we're working towards here, representing some reconciliation efforts.
If I unmute myself, thank you very much. I'll just present Evoke just very, very quickly. We are a firm that specializes in heritage conservation as well as working with First Nations and Inuit communities. And we also have a branch that does housing. So this project sort of fell very nicely within our specialties of our team, and we're very excited to present it here today. And of course, my screen is not, there we go. Just to go over our presentation very quickly, we'll go over what the existing property is, what our proposed development for the property is, and discuss as well some of the impacts and conditions for conservation. The existing property, as mentioned, it is a Part 4 designated property. It's located right near the stadium. And as well right near a very large parking lot that belongs to the school. It's at the end, as well as you can see here, to 2 residential streets and along Gage Avenue. From the exterior, the building is designated for its Edwardian classical style. It is in fact a very classical early 19th century school in its architecture, form, and organization. The exterior of the building is generally intact. The original windows are, however, gone and replaced and cut off. But on the whole, the building from the exterior retains a lot of its original character and condition. The interior of this school as well is been fairly well preserved. We note in the designation, as well as just walking through the building, its original finishes. It's a lot of woodwork and baseboards and cast iron stairs, and as well as the general interior arrangements of the rooms. The proposed development really seeks to re-envision and reimagine what this building can be for the future, and as well to have it suit the community that it's going to house. We are faced with a school building with a very particular and unique challenge of how does one adapt a building that is associatively challenged in its history of that typology. So not necessarily that site, but that building typology generates a lot of strong sentiments and strong feelings relating to the residential schools and colonial legacies. So we are faced with sort of an architecture that in a way fights and contradicts what we want to house and put in the building and have it be a home and feel like a home for the Indigenous Friendship Center that's going to house it. So we're dealing with this kind of very strong contradictions between the solid architecture of the building that is designated and the new uses of how this building can be completely reimagined and retransformed to actually have a new life, where the first interaction and the first vision of this building will be for the Indigenous communities that will take it and make it of their use for decades to come. So the vision really based is on this idea of how does one create a dialogue between those two histories, and how does this building can be used really to fit into this larger spirit of reconciliation. The site in itself, the school siting is just along Gage, and there is a great opportunity on the site to add housing for the Indigenous or Aboriginal Housing Association. So it's a joint use between the HRIC and the OHS, but to have both the Friendship Center and housing as well in relation to it. So in addition to the adaptive reuse of the project, we're also proposing a housing addition. If we look at the existing Friendship Center, the most change we're proposing on the interior of the building is to the ground floor. We are opening up a number of the classrooms to create a space that can really be used fluidly and flexibly by the community. The basement floor and the second floor are staying virtually intact with their rooms being reprogrammed, but I'm presenting here the spaces that are having the most radical change. One of the major ideas is to actually we need accessibility in the building. So the main entrance is being rethought of to the entrance here so that we can come in and have an elevator come and bring people up to the ground floor. It's a split level building in its organization, opening up into a very large reception area, some flexible programming space, a library. And then one of the key parts of the programming is food and making food and having a kitchen and having the space to gather a very large numbers of the community. So we have this very, very large kitchen and dining area that will be flexibly used for multiple things, but really serves as a part of the building and the community. On the second floor, it's mostly office spaces with some meeting spaces so that multiple groups come and use the building to for their own community meetings and for their own sort of organizations. And on the basement floor, which is a large semi-basement, there's an elder center and there's also a sort of high school for Indigenous schools. So there's classrooms and there's an educational vocation to the building, a community vocation to the building, as well as a sort of just a welcome center and dining and vocation. And the main idea is to have this whole reinterpretation of the historic architecture into a way that can really present a new identity. One of the main and principal ways to do it from the exterior of the building is really an approach of that is reversible. So while it looks as a significant change to what the identity will be building should be from a conservation perspective, it is a reversible intervention. So looking at putting art within the windows themselves. So these are all non-original windows that are currently partly obscured. We're looking at putting film, so it would be semi-transparent film that would represent local artists within all the windows, and adding onto the building a screen that allows for this new identity. So the screen does not affect the masonry because it'll be proud of it. It'll be very lightly attached either from the parapet with some attachments to the ground. And it provides an opportunity. We've provided this idea of the moccasins. This is not the final result. This is all a work in progress as to what the final expression will be. The screen also provides adds an opportunity to create an outdoor space as a balcony. So at the ground floor where the reception and main welcome center is, we'd be lowering the sills of the windows and creating sort of this exterior projecting balcony space to have this interior outside space within the building itself. Other interventions to the grade are the addition of artwork on the grounds, creating meetings places and circles of gathering and fire space on the exterior. There's another view of the building. So looking at here, these the windows that are at the front at grade would be lowered, creating this balcony space that would allow some interior outside space as a protected exterior space. Reimagining the front of the building, keeping all the trees, but integrating within them public gathering spaces, which also help give the building a new identity and also serve as sort of a buffer gathering space with the community itself, because it will be open to other members of the community. And this is the sort of re-envisioned interior space. So when we come in, the footprints of where the walls used to be, that these are walls we would be removing to actually create this large welcome space. The legibility of the corridors at the ground floor and the old classrooms would still be understood, but we are in fact creating a fairly significant change in how we are opening it up. And these are the windows that are being lowered to create the sort of exterior space that's protected by the screen. The housing addition is really conceived to form a counterpoint to the heritage building. So there's sort of this broken up facade, which would be in wood. So the rigidity of the heritage building is countered by a more fluid facade to have that sort of dialogue between them. There's also a bridge being proposed between the two buildings because the amenity spaces for the people in the housing residents will be actually their ability to use the community center. The housing provides accessible units as well as 1 and 2 bedroom apartment units. There's 34 units being provided within it, with some parking also below grade or below the units themselves. This is sort of a vision of what the housing can look like. And then looking at the landscape development, which is really about having spaces for gathering, having sort of a weaving interaction, creating buffers and screens that help mitigate the transition between an Indigenous landscape and a more traditional colonial building. And there's another view sort of proposed of the landscape. So at this level, this is sort of a high level feasibility study of the design. Every bit of this design still require refinement, certainly for their final artistic expression, because this would be done very much as directed and with the help of the community. So this is not about us telling anybody what it should look like. It's going to be about the community themselves determining how the art should look like, what the final expressions of the building would be, and how, in fact, all the uses of the land and how this mitigation between community, building, and landscape will occur in the front. In terms of impact assessments and conservation approach, for the actual building itself on the pure conservation side, there is a lot of restoration is being proposed. The building has been left empty for a number of years. There's repairs to the exterior masonry that are needed. There's the replacement of all the windows that have been blocked off. So to actually recreate fully glazed windows, albeit with a film of art on them. There's the replacement of all the existing mechanical electrical systems, the replacement of the roofs, a lot of interior repairs to the finishes that need to be done. So all that is being integrated as part of the project. And then in terms of the intervention, it's really about the programming of the spaces. There was a lot of effort being made to find compatible uses for the individual rooms and classrooms in a way that we could limit the amount of demolition. And I think and to actually focus most of the change to one floor so that the other floors could remain more intact. Anything that is art or integration onto the buildings, such as the screens, are done in a way that is fundamentally reversible in the way it's going to be anchored to the building and can be removed. More, drastic or stronger measures of demolition of walls. Where the walls used to be will be marked and sort of indicated. And art and other integration into the building is also all generally reversible and fairly minimal in the intervention ideas, such as painting the floors or adding art onto the floors. The addition itself is conceived also to be sympathetic to the original building. Its scale and its height are lower than the existing building. The floor levels were also calibrated so that they actually have some direct relationship with the passerelle as they connect between the two. The materials are chosen to be sympathetic and compatible, and the addition of the building does not in any way detract from the understanding and the vision and the siting of the original building on the site. And this is sort of a final image of the residential addition with the school. And that brings us to the end of the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Dima.
I'm going to stop sharing so I can see everyone. Hold on. Sorry, I have to find the stop share button.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. All right. Geez, is there any comments from the committee? Anybody like to make some? Okay, so we'll start with Carol and then we'll move on to Graham. Please go ahead, and then Matthew after that. So please go ahead, Carol.
Okay. Yeah, I reviewed this before the meeting, so I had a couple of questions which have been answered by the presentation, but I still have difficulty with the fact that this is an Edwardian classical school, which is a very fine example of its type. And that, I really like everything about the proposal, even the residential part that is the right scale, but it isn't sort of similar, but it doesn't matter. What you're doing with the inside, I think is great to accommodate those programs and uses. Adaptive reuse is, of course, just so important to keep our heritage buildings. But the one thing that I can't get my head around is that you're covering up a lot of the original school building with a screen in order, and I think I understand, it's so that when you look at it, the Indigenous people won't be reminded. I can't see using a building to do that. In other words, the building is actually because we're a Heritage Permit Review Committee, the building is what we're here about. We're here for the heritage building and keeping its integrity. And there are a lot of things you can do, and we've seen those things, and you're doing them, and they're terrific. But the screen, myself, I can't see that it's going to serve the purpose that you think it's going to. It's just going to look like half of the building's covered over with. And I don't think people are going to understand it at all. Even if the users may understand it, I really question that motivation and that rationale behind covering up a big portion of the architecture. So that's my major comment. The rest, I think, is terrific.
Okay. Did you want to comment, Dima,
I can respond. We have used screens similar on buildings before to allow like art integration within the building and onto the building. They have worked, and obviously these are very, like what we've shown here are high level sketches. There is we are sort of, and I understand the keeping the integrity of the building, and I understand that intent and the need to do so. And we're sort of we're taking it two folds, like in a different interpretation. One is we're trying to keep the physical integrity of the building, in which whatever's being proposed is completely reversible, and we're coming at it in the sense that we're going to restore the masonry, restore the windows, and restore the physical conditions of the building. It retains a physical integrity. And then it's for the visual integrity of the building that you are correct. We're taking a bit of a radical approach so that the building can have a new perception and a new identity layered onto it. And we're hoping that between the sections of the building that remain visible, like the half of the building that is that will not have a screen, and the part of the building that will have a screen, that there will be kind of that dialogue and understanding that through the screen you'd still be able to see the original building, but it's like a very literal interpretation of layering on a new history and a new identity onto the building.
Yeah, you said that it's been done before, and I have seen it done before, but I haven't myself seen it done to a designated building. Are you talking about designated buildings or a building that, that you changed or whatever?
The building that we've done recently was not a designated building, but it is a building in which we added a screen onto it with art on it in order to sort of provide the building a new interpretation for the community.
Yeah, one of the things with designated buildings is I'm quite sure that in the Ontario Heritage Act that I don't really I know the act very well, and I don't see that covering up half of a building over with a screen is really part of preserving the building. Like I have no trouble with art on the building and no trouble with the windows having art. I think that's a great idea because you still see the shape of the building. But in terms of the Ontario Heritage Act, it is that's something that, covering half of the building in order to get rid of half of the association of what it was is it's not recommended. I don't even know that. I mean, I'd have to look into the ramifications of doing that with the act, but I would really hesitate to do it without looking into that. And
Yeah.
as far as it being an art screen, I couldn't tell, but it doesn't mean no one can tell. It just, I couldn't tell those were moccasins. I thought they were running shoes or something, and I couldn't understand why there were footprints all over the building. So I think the concept, you know, and why you're doing it is quite, it's very interesting, but I don't think it's actually working in terms of the art, and I don't think that it's something that is really allowed on designated buildings according to the Ontario Heritage Act. But
Yeah,
I would say look into that more, look into it more, and if you're going to do a screen, which I wouldn't do, but anyway, I think the art should stand out more, but I wouldn't do a screen there. I would do a screen somewhere else, like maybe, you know, if you want to show art, there's other places to show the art. You know, there's the housing building, and I don't know. I just think it's such a fabulous project, and what you're doing, I think, is so imaginative. That I'm just sensing that this particular introduction of this is really going to throw the whole thing in terms of people looking at it and saying, what the heck is that? And you're not going to have, you know, people explaining what that means. I mean, I would be myself very sad to see half of that building covered up. So that's my comments, but you do have the Ontario Heritage Act to refer to, because that's what we go by. That's what we go by in this committee. So it's just the kind of thing where you know, you want to follow the guidelines and follow the you know, what the act is recommending and not recommending, and saying you can't do a designated building. So anyway, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Alyssa,
I
do
think
you
it's
have
a
something
great
to add to that?
Fabulous.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen, through the chair. I just was going to note, and this is something, obviously, this is a pre-consultation, so it's great to get all this feedback from the subcommittee, and I know there's more comments to come. In terms of the Ontario Heritage Act, it allows us to designate properties and then manage change to designated properties through the heritage permit process. There are no specific requirements or limitations on what those changes can be under the Ontario Heritage Act. There are then subsequent standards and guidelines, like Parks Canada. There's great guidelines from the province as well in terms of best practices for the conservation of heritage buildings more broadly. So certainly we would be looking for, as staff, as a part of a future application, ensuring that any assessment of impacts is looking at those best practices, discussing what those impacts are, what has been sort of looked at in terms of mitigation measures to balance that change. And then it would be the subcommittee, Heritage Committee, potentially to council, depending on the scopes of work, that would then provide comment on the appropriateness of those proposed changes.
Thank you, Alyssa. Dima, did you have anything further you wanted to just say to Carol before we move on to the next comment? Or
no, I mean, the screen that's being proposed currently, as I mentioned, is not the final design, because the moccasins were put on there as an idea, but that's not up to me to decide what the visual identity of this building will look like. It'll be up to the users and the Indigenous communities who use this building to actually define their own visual identity for this building. So we're providing it as a placeholder to sort of give the idea of what it could be. And then, you know, everything from how they're attached to the opacity and expression of the screen is all, you know, the work in progress. But yes, we are very cognizant of the standards and guidelines, and yes,
okay,
measured application. Yeah.
Thank you, Dima. Okay, our next comment was from Graham. Please go ahead, Graham.
Well, thank you for coming to us with this wonderful project. It's definitely good to get a use back into that building. On my first term on the Municipal Heritage Committee, now my third, we lost a beautiful manse to St. Thomas Anglican Church because we tried telling the Indigenous community what they could or couldn't do with their building. And I don't want to lose this building for the same stupidity as what happened before. I have no concerns over that screen because you're not changing the fabric of the building. You're changing how it looks. We should not be telling people how the harms should be handled from colonial times. The intergenerational harms were actually there. We know that. And if the people who are using that building don't want to be reminded of the colonial past, we should allow them to use the building that serves their community best while not changing the building. And they're not. They're merely screening it off so that when they walk up to the building, the harms that were put upon that community aren't as obvious to them. I am not going to tell the Indigenous community and the urban Indigenous community what should and shouldn't harm them. We've already done it. So let's get in the reconciliation mode. Let's understand what they want to do to their building.
Yeah.
And that's my comment.
Thank you, Graham. Appreciate that. Matthew.
Yeah, thank you for that wonderful presentation and the detail and thoughtfulness of the proposal is very noticeable. So really looks really exciting. I'm wondering if, as part of the planning, if there'll be discussions with the developers and minds behind other adaptive reuse projects in Hamilton that were in partnership with Indigenous communities. I think of the Nai Dawn Na affordable housing project that was done by the Sacagawea Nonprofit Housing Corporation on Stephen Street in the Lansdale neighborhood. Are there any plans to either have sort of informal discussions, conversations with these different builders to get a sense of to get insight and knowledge of their activities that they've completed?
I think there's better people than me to answer this question on the line.
Chair, may I respond to this one?
Please do. Carry on.
Okay. So I'm representing the city on this one since it's still in city ownership. This is part of a bigger project and we're at the very front end of it. So what I would suggest with whether we'd consult with other groups, what we're focusing in right now is working with the Hamilton Regional Indian Centre and Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services as directed by council. We will be definitely open, and this was actually that 16 Stephen Street project is one I pointed out to Dima as precedent. The whole idea of the visuals in the windows was already something contemplated. It mimics that. That building actually had a lot more change and wasn't a designated building. So it's information we already know. The actual contractor who worked on that project, information like that could be shared, is also already internally known at the city, which is helpful. But just to put this in more of a broader picture of where we're at, we have to report back to General Issues Committee about advancing this project and seeking direction to transact this property back to or into the community's hands. And then with that comes the path forward from a planning perspective. The property is not zoned appropriately for the contemplated uses. So there's a few milestones coming before we get to that detailed stage, Matthew, of the construction, who's gonna be building it. But the visual contemplation those conversations can certainly happen with Sacagawea. And I can also think of the Bidnikin property. That was a former municipal property as well that's been in partnership with the Indigenous communities locally. So I'm not sure if that fully addresses the question or if it gives too much information, but just setting the stage a little bit with where we're at. We're at the very front end still, much to the frustration of the community. They wanted to be in here about 3 years ago.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. Looks like Sandra has her hand up.
Thank you. Dima, thank you so much for this presentation. I think you have a very challenging project to take on. There's really two opposing kind of forces that are, that are at hand right now. And I think this is kind of the beginning of opening the conversation. That's how I saw that rendering. It's really about having the conversation, starting with that. And I wanted to find out, at this point, how is it that the voices of the stakeholders was represented in your design?
We have had multiple meetings with the stakeholders on the project and have shown them sort of iterations and heard feedback from them. This idea of identity and seeing oneself in the building and having the building not trigger, for lack of a better word, like the associations of that building and mitigating the associations of the architecture of that building, I'll say, because that building itself was not a residential school, but that architecture has a lot of connotations that are heavy and that are real and that did cause and are causing, I think, the community to really think about deeply whether this is the right site for them, whether this is the right opportunity, and we're trying to find ways to mitigate that and work with them to see how this building could be made theirs and how they could really truly appropriate the building, where it can be someplace that people will feel welcome and comfortable and at ease. And that is, and that's a work in progress, I'm going to say, to be honest. And that's part of the next steps going forward in this project is actually, how do we keep working on that? And everybody has to be on the same page. But like we've taken our direction from what we've heard from the communities in our meetings with them and tried to be responsive and give them ideas of, okay, this is how we can change the building to respond to this concern. This is how we can change the building so it meets the program that they need. And they have a very wide ranging and very rich program of social services and educational services and community services. The building is very much like currently the Friendship Center is very much like a hub and a welcome that people go to and feel welcome, but they're too tight in their current space. So I would say it's part of an ongoing conversation as to how this happens, and it will continue to be an ongoing conversation while the project develops.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. Audrey, did you have something you were going to add? I wasn't sure if your microphone got turned on or...
Sorry, it's Beth Dockstader, Chair.
Oh, sorry, Beth. Okay.
Hi there. Through the chair, thank you so much, committee members and chair, for allowing us to come today to present to the group. I just wanted to make a little bit of a comment on the last question that was posed. Part of the work that I do as the manager of Indigenous Relation is that relationship building between the city of Hamilton and the urban Indigenous community and our treaty nations. And so part of my job and my team's role and scope is to do just that, to ensure that the community voices are being heard and they are being considered. This project has been a long time coming. We've had to do some relationship building with our Indigenous partners, and I think we're in a really great place at this point, again, to make sure that all voices are being included and that we are working through the urban Indigenous strategy well. This project very much aligns to the city's urban Indigenous strategy, and there's very much a lot of excitement on it as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. I had one comment. I mean, one thing that's always a concern with the Heritage Committee is, are we changing the building? And it looks to me like I mean, there's a lot, I mean, there are some internal changes, understandably why, you know, reformatting the rooms and such. The outdoors, the outside, um, as you said, it's all removable if we ever need to go there, you know, to the outside of the building is being retained in that. Except for, it sounds like the balcony, right? And some of those windows are going to be expanded. And probably, you know, the kind of heritage advice you would get from this committee would be, well, hopefully if you're taking away any bricks, you set those aside, right? Retain all the materials in case future times you want to restore it. So, but other than that, I think it would be an amazing project to actually take this building from what is currently shuttered to, you know, adaptively reusing it in a great project. So, yeah. Graham, you had one more comment?
Yeah, you triggered something with the balcony comment. At one time there was a addition on the south side where the new buildings are going up. That was removed in 2015, even though your document says 2018. It was taken down in 2015. If the balcony was put over to that side, that's already had compromised brickwork and all that kind of stuff in there. Would it be enough room to go between the new housing and the school existing building?
Um, we're actually putting the connection
Well, that's
to
on the
the new
second floor, though.
housing on that side of the building. The balcony was an idea to, because it's off the main, open welcome space at the reception. So it's to create an exterior space off that main reception space that's really acts as the hub and the heart of the building. People just go there and hang out.
Okay.
It's like a really open space that people can just go and be in, and it provides an exterior space off that area. So that's why we had the idea of putting the balcony there.
I was wondering if it could be moved around to that south side, though. You already got compromised brickwork in there, like that horrible new steel door that's on that side on the ground floor. So it would provide a spot where you're doing less potential damage to the original fabric of the building. And that way, you're damaging less original features on that side because they already had an ugly building taken down from that side. But anyway, just something to think about because this is a pre-consult.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So if there's no more comments from the committee, I don't see any hands. I guess you're here as a pre-consultation. These are the kind of things that you may hear if you were to come back to us. But I know there's a lot of steps, and eventually you would need a heritage permit approval as well. But for the most part, I think the committee is quite on side. So. And I appreciate the opportunity to give you this input at this early stage. I really do.
We appreciate the input as well. Thank you very much.
Okay. So good luck. And we'll be seeing you in the future. Fingers crossed.
Oh, Audrey?
Yes.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for hearing us and supporting us. And we're looking forward to finding a new space to service the community.
Yeah.
More fitness.
Okay. Yes. So thank you to all of you for coming in. I appreciate all your attention to this. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh.
Yeah. So to the committee, then I guess we would draw this meeting to a close as there is no other business.
Sorry, Karen.
Go ahead.
We just need a formal motion to just receive that pre-consultation.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That I didn't know. May I have a mover and a seconder to receive the consultation? So I see Graham and Sandra. Thank you. And is there anyone opposed to receiving that? Seeing none. Okay, that is received. Is that good, Alyssa?
Yes, thank you, Karen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, as there is no further business for this evening, I adjourn the meeting at 6:14. Thank you all for your attention, your questions, and your continued dedication.
Good night, all.
Okay.